What's up, everybody? I am back, and I'm doing another Lil Peep song. This is what I think maybe the first Lil Peep video I ever saw. It was either this one or Ben's Truck, and I really like it. There's a very specific reason that I picked this song, and it's for a very specific part of the video, which I will talk about when we get to it, or when we finish. But before I get into it, a couple things. Like and subscribe, obviously. I always appreciate that. Helps me out. Helps me feel like I'm doing stuff that people care about. I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to get into the mastering or the programming or anything like that. That's not really something that I'm skilled at. And don't be a dick. This kind of music may not be for you. I may not be for you. That's okay. It's understandable. People have different tastes. But I would request that we try to keep it kind of cool in the comments. I try to keep things very respectful on my end, and I would appreciate a little bit of that in return. I have my latte, and I'm ready to go. So this is Awful Things by Lil Peep featuring Lil TRACY.
Teardrops fall on me, speeding away with city in the rear view, heart racing whenever I'm near you. Goth boy jumping on stage, carry me away, burn me down till there's nothing left. I will scream your name with my last breath. Take off your favorite dress, lay your head on my chest. Diamonds, rubies, and gems, you can have all of them. Bother me, tell me awful things. You know I love it when you do that. Helps me get through this without you. Bother me, tell me awful things. You know I love it when you move that on me. Love it when you do that on me.
All right. So I'll be honest up front and say this is not my favorite Lil Peep song. This is probably not in my top 5. there's other stuff that I like better. But there is a philosopher, not to get all pretentious, there's a philosopher I used to read who talked about how he was a Christian guy who had a former atheist, then became a Christian. I grew up Christian. All right, a lot of stuff I read when I was a kid was written by Christian people. But he made an interesting point about how the 60s and 70s, although, very immoral, right? Free sex, free love, right? Drug culture and all that stuff. It wasn't very necessarily positive in some of the ways it manifested. But he much preferred that to the 80s, because during the 60s and 70s, people were looking for something, right? A lot of that drug use was trying to connect with something bigger than yourself, right? They were doing LSD. They were trying to open their mind. They didn't believe in God necessarily, but they thought there must be something bigger, right? There must be something out there that we can touch, right? That can give us purpose if we're able to open our minds with these psychedelics or whatever. And then when you got to the 80s, people stopped doing that. People just gave up, right? People just acknowledged, they just decided there is nothing bigger than us. There's nothing out there, right? We are all we've got. And then, you turn to more, you turn to Coke. But that's not really the point. The point is, you gave up that idealism of, we are going to do these drugs, partly because they're fun and it feels good, and partly because we are hoping that we can touch God, whatever God is, right? We don't know what God is. We don't really believe there is one, but maybe there's something that we can connect with, right? You saw the Beatles, right? They were getting into Hinduism, and Eastern mysticism was coming in, right? You had guys like Ginsberg, and there was this idea that maybe Christianity didn't have the answers, but some religion maybe did. And the more mystical it was, the closer you had a shot at touching God. The reason I bring that up is because the scene in the video that really struck me the first time I saw it, and has always stuck out to me, is Lil TRACY, aka Young Bruh, aka Tracy Minaj, dabbing in front of his locker while the school's going up in flames, and he's got the noose in the locker, right? Which obviously, I'll probably put a content warning on this just so people know. That juxtaposition, right? That's the fuck it, we ball, right? That's what I've been hearing from people lately is, whatever happens, you just power through it, right? You don't think about it. You don't acknowledge it. You just keep moving. There is some value to that. There is some, right? There's some strength that requires, and there's some value to it. But it often means that people don't engage with the bad things. They don't engage with the stuff that hurts. And this ties in to toxic masculinity, certainly, right? Because men are frequently encouraged not to engage with the pain, not to acknowledge the pain. Right, because real men are tough. Real men don't get affected by things. And that's very bad. That's really bad for you. Real men are affected by things. Everybody is. Now, you might still have to keep moving, right? But you can still feel that pain. So watching TRACY dabbing half-heartedly, right? He's not putting his heart into it. It's this, I'm depressed, but I'm going to put on the appearance of, we're balling, we're living. It's always stuck out to me. There's a new sort of desperation, I think, in drug culture, in what Lil Peep was doing, right? Lil Peep, he was doing the hedonistic things, right? He was doing the drugs, he was fucking people, he was touring, and he had money, and he was in fashion shows and stuff. But it doesn't stick, right? You don't feel it because the overwhelming sense that you have is despair and depression and a disconnect from the world, a disconnect from meaning, right? There's no reason to do this stuff. I do drugs because I can, not because there's any reason to do them, not because it feels good. It doesn't even feel good to do them anymore. I just do them because I gotta. Right? I do it for the persona. I do it for the fans. There is an element of that. And it's really, really sad. I mean, obviously, Lil Peep, no longer with us because of the drug use. And, there are a lot of theories about what happened. The way he was living his life, it was going to happen, right? Whether he got some laced stuff, which I believe he did, whether that was intentional, I don't think so. But it would have happened at some point. I mean, the way he was doing Xans, like, it was going to happen. And that's very sad. I don't say that to, like, minimize it. I say that to say, whether it happened when it did or it happened later down the road, unless something significant changed in his life, it was always going to end the way it ended. And that's really, really sad. He was a talented dude. But there is just this desperation, I think, with people who are just sort of going through the motions of the things that you're supposed to do, the things that you're supposed to like, but there's no heart in it. There's no point to any of it. And, where do you go from there? As far as the song itself goes, right, now that I'm done philosophizing, I like it fine. The beat's okay. Lil Peep, although evocative, was not the strongest lyricist. And I find a lot of the lyrics to be very rudimentary, very repetitive. The rhyming schemes don't really do it for me. Right, his talents lay in the persona, in the marketing, in the image, in the energy, in the way he connected with fans, right? There are a lot of artists who have succeeded with not the strongest songwriting, but with great stage craft, great persona, great marketing, right? And I think that Lil Peep was kind of in that category. And also he was a kid, right? He was like 20. Give him 10 more years writing, and I'm guessing he could develop that, right? He could have improved the lyrics, improved the creativity, and it would have been much more interesting. What he does is he's able to get usually a line or two that are really effective, right? Really raw, that you can really feel. And then the rest of it is mediocre. Again, my opinion. I do like Lil Peep a lot. I listened to him. I went to his tribute show. I'm a fan. I like how effective the emotional lyrics can be. It's just that I think a lot of the time the lyrics are not very complex. But I like this song, all right. I would still put Bench Truck. I would put White Tee, which is, I may do that one. That's one of my favorites. I would put Witchblades. I would put Night Slayer above this one. There are several songs that I like better, but I do like this one. But the reason I wanted to do it was because of that scene in the video where TRACY is sadly dabbing in front of the noose and whatnot. I think that's really evocative. Yeah, I'll finish this up by saying, talk to somebody if you need to. I'm not a therapist. I'm a smart guy, but I'm not a therapist. Talk to somebody. If you need to, even if it's just to say, things are bad, right? Things are bad. My life is bad. Because your life may be really bad. That's a true thing, right? Nobody can take that away from you. It doesn't always help to talk about it, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it helps to know that other people are having it bad too. right? You talk to somebody that you can trust, and somebody that you know is not going to judge you for feeling bad. And maybe they'll tell you that they're having some issues too, right? There is strength in numbers, right? There's no power in one person by themselves. This is why I'm pro-union, by the way. But yeah, one person, the more you isolate, the more you believe that it's just you, the easier it gets to think about checking out, right? Because it's just you. Nobody else will care. That's not true. That's not the case. It's a lie that you tell yourself because you begin to shut off the people who do care. I do very much understand that impulse. I promise. But it's not healthy. It's not going to help you. And you can help people by being open about what's going on. You can help people by letting them know what's going on in your life, right? It can be very selfish to believe that you don't have anything to offer, because other people might think you do, and they want to hear from you. Yeah, I'm preaching again, but like, I have, how will I put this? I have many physical permanent reminders of some of the worst times for my mental health. So I do know what it's like. And I'm not here to diminish that, but talk to somebody. I'm going to wrap it up here, though. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Drink lots of water. And be nice to each other. You really don't know who might need that.